What's going on, people? It's the Mind Your Business Podcast. It's your man JB with you once again. And this evening, we have the pleasure of having the Millers on. The Millers are the owners of the Peninsula Family Skating Center. And not only are they the owners of the skating center, they also have a lot of other things that they're involved in as well. So we're going to have a conversation. We'll just sit down, have a really nice, candid conversation. We kind of started early. I said, look, I got to stop so we can get back into it. But just want to have that conversation with you guys. But once again, it's the Mind Your Business Podcast. We do this on Mondays, and it's powered by Hanging with the Harrisons. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way you can be notified and, click the bell and all that stuff so you know when the new shows are coming up. And you can always tune in and catch them on live. And then we also do the replays. We post them on Wednesdays. So that way, if you just so happen to have missed it, you can always get the replay. But right now, let's bring up our guest. It is the Millers. And we're going to have a conversation. Good evening. How are you guys doing? Oh, you know what? That's on me. Hold on just a minute. There we go. All right.
Hello. We're doing well.
Doing well. Well, look, first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for taking time out from your very, very busy schedules to come and hang out and just have a good conversation this evening. So I appreciate that. RC and Ayana Miller got your bio, and you guys are I guess we'll say the new owners of the skating center. Just a little bit about you guys. You're from the Newport News area, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we're in Newport News, born and raised.
Okay.
Bounced around a little bit based on our careers. Made it out to California, lived in DC for a while, but ultimately knew we wanted to get back to Hampton Roads, and so we kind of been planting little breadcrumbs along the way so that we'd have a path to get back. And then the pandemic kind of accelerated everything, and here we are.
And so you're here in Newport News. What do you guys, as far as professions go, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I'm an engineering manager. I work on data protection and privacy. I've worked at Facebook. I've worked at Snapchat. I worked for the federal government, and right now I work at Pinterest, and so I help make sure that companies don't do creepy stuff with people's data.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, we definitely need to talk. And RC, yourself?
Yep, and I am a lawyer. I've worked at law firms, and then I worked at eBay for a little while. The type of law that I practice right now is product counseling. So when companies are designing new technologies, I tell them what the legal implications of those technologies will be. And right now I work at Zoom.
Oh, you work at Zoom?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So I guess at this point you guys really are you can work from home and you're still getting all the work and stuff done.
Yep.
That's amazing. And products of Newport News Public Schools.
Yep.
100% through and through.
Oh my goodness. So, and those are success stories that you really don't hear a lot about, just to be honest with you. You hear a lot of negative things about the public school system, and especially about Newport News. I'll just be honest with you. You don't really hear a lot of positive things about Newport News, but the fact that we have you guys sitting here right now, an engineer for Pinterest and an attorney that came out of the Newport News public school system says a lot. So I would, if I had the applaud button, I'd do that, the applause and all of those type of things, I'd do that. But let's talk a little bit about school. With you being an attorney, RC, and an engineer, even when it came to school, because I guess that kind of set the stage for you guys later on in life. But what things did you guys do in school that kind of helped you, propelled you to get you to this place?
Yeah, so I kind of didn't take high school very seriously.
Mm.
And then when I got to college, sort of started trying to figure out, okay, well, I know I want to be a lawyer. I know what the empath is. How do I get there? And then sort of started putting together the pieces and was like, oh, I need to get basically straight A's, and I need to do this, and I need to get this LSAT. And so kind of just put the pieces together. and did what I had to do day by day and kind of made it happen. I knew where I wanted to end up, and I knew what kinds of schools I wanted to go to. And so at that point, it was a matter of just applying myself and making sure that I was going to have what I needed once I got there.
I would say I was somewhat of the opposite. I was the type of person who was overly studious in high school, like in all of grade school, and put so much of an emphasis on like A's that when I got to college, I was burnt out. I was tired, and we actually didn't start dating until our first date was the day after high school. The day after high school graduation, and RC was going to George Mason. I was going to William Mary, and college is just different. Like it's a different animal. And the things that prepared me and made me successful in high school, they didn't translate to college, just the whole environment and the things you're rewarded for. And so I struggled. And I really did, like, it was because of RC. He was like easygoing and had a different approach to college. That helped me get through and realize like it wasn't about the grades. It was about how you thought, how you learned, how you network with people. And even now I would say we have that balance. Like I care about policies and, making sure in business that we get like the paperwork. And RC is thinking creatively and, thinking about social media and how to grow followers. And so we balance each other out as far as like risk and risk tolerance. And yeah, we just always brought that to our relationship and also studying and now in business too.
And so RC, and just to piggyback off of that, so you were in high school and, didn't really take it too serious. But at some point, you kind of turned that corner and decided and figured out, hey, in order for me to become whatever it is that I want to be, there's some things that I have to do. And I'm only saying that because I think for a lot of young people, I kind of deal with a lot of young people, and especially in school and not really knowing what they want to do or where they want to go in life. But I get, for me, that says a lot because at the end of the day, that means there's always hope, regardless of, and not to say that you were a failure in high school or nothing like that, but, hold on, wait a minute. Well, what was your GPA?
It was somewhere around a 3. I think I just
skated by.
I did the minimum I possibly could in every instance. I didn't really care. So I would say to that person who feels like, do I have time yet? I mean, do I still have time to figure it out? Like, the way I thought about high school was, okay, they have not started keeping score yet. I knew that at some point, the things that I was doing were really going to matter. And like the decisions I was making on a day-to-day basis were really going to have an impact on my long-term trajectory. But I knew that, high school was not that time. So I kind of, took it easy, for lack of a better phrase. And when I got to college, it just sort of clicked one day. It was like, all right, they're keeping score. Like the stuff that you're doing now is actually going to make a difference for your career, and your career is going to make a difference for your life, and ultimately how much flexibility you're going to have. And so I was able to transfer to William and Mary, where Ayana was, and we sort of hunkered down and really focused together. And the rest is the life we've made. It's been great, but I would say that as long as you are breathing today, like you definitely still have time to turn it around, because chances are the score is not settled yet. The chances are you can really dramatically impact your trajectory in life, even from where you sit right now.
And that's good, man. That's good because as parents, I think a lot of times when it comes to parents and their children, we have plans for our kids. And I think a lot of times when they're not on the path that we think that they should be on, as parents, we get concerned, we get worried, and so a lot of times for us, I think we think like, oh my gosh, they ain't gonna do nothing, they ain't gonna be nothing. But once again, to hear that you went from where you were in high school to where you are now, with the help of Ayana, I'm sure. That just, it means a lot. It says a lot. And
no, I was just going to say a quick story on that point is sort of a lot of times parents don't realize how much influence they can have over their kids. I remember a very specific moment in this timeline where I had a guidance counselor who told my mom, like, I don't really think he's cut out for college. Maybe, you guys should look at community college. And, my mom had plans for my life and kind of had envisioned my life going a certain way. And sort of the tears that brought about in her sort of struck me. And I ended up writing one of my law school essays about, sort of the impact that her calling me with that revelation had on me. And, so I would say just don't give up on your kids, because at the end of the day, like it doesn't necessarily take a lot to re-steer a ship.
So let's talk skating rink. You guys are from Newport News. You grew up in the area. Did you used to go there as kids?
We did. Not together, but we both went to the Wednesday program. There was a Wednesday after school program, and we had half days, and we apparently both went there. The school bus would take you there, the city bus. And so I remember that. And then when we were older, when we were together, again, we lived in California, but we would come home for the holidays, and RC would be the one telling the family, hey, we're going skating. Everybody grab your skates. We're going to be there Friday night, Saturday night, or Sunday night. And that just became a tradition. Every time we would come home, that was the place where we would all meet up.
Mm-hmm. And so as you guys kind of got older or whatever, and you started to see the change in the skating rink, and when the opportunity became available, what was that conversation like?
Yeah, so we are kind of always in buy mode. I guess full disclosure, we were actually talking right before this started about how there's a property down the street that I wanted to show Ayana, a multifamily property that I was kind of excited about. I saw today. And so that puts you a little bit on the mindset that we're in, where we're always kind of scanning. We're always on LoopNet. We're always on Zillow, looking for opportunities of things to buy. It just so happens, we have a real deep personal connection to the skating rink that makes this, sort of a once-in-a-lifetime story. But, we are always looking for buildings to buy, opportunities to invest in things that are gonna generate returns.
And so my question is, why are you guys always looking for property, real estate, or whatever? Why?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I don't know, when we became professionals, we worked in DC at the beginning of our career. And I remember reading something. I made around $75,000 at the time. And RC had just started his career as a lawyer. And I read something that said you only get so much happiness based on how much money you're getting after a certain point. And I could see RC wasn't happy in big law. I was okay, but I knew I didn't want to work a 9-to-5 forever. And so we started looking at ways that the wealthy become wealthy, and thinking about, having a family one day. We were planning to get married at that point. It was getting pretty serious. But we knew we wanted to figure out how to build wealth. And all the research we found, we started listening to podcasts, reading books, and everything pointed to real estate, buying and owning real estate. And so we decided that that's what we were going to do. We didn't know what it was going to look like at first, but we just started saving. And RC's mom is a real estate broker, an agent. So we had a advantage there that she could help us through the process. And so we just started putting all of our energy into all our free time into looking at properties and buying properties.
And so how easy or hard was it to do your first property?
Hard. It took years, and it took sort of adjustments in criteria. We learned a lot about what we actually wanted to invest in. We started out saying, well, we want to look at condos because that was the amount of money we had saved. And so we kind of went down that route and had some things not work out, and the numbers didn't really make sense in certain scenarios. And so we would go back to the drawing board and say, okay, well, we need to save 3x or 4x what we thought we needed. And so sort of that rinse and repeat process of iterating on what we thought were our criteria and really figuring it out. It made it so that it took a couple of years. It took a couple of fits and starts to really get the ball rolling and get to a place where at this point I would say if we go 6 months without buying something, we feel crazy. And so like we are really just like, we know exactly what we're looking for, and when we see it, we pounce and we buy it, and we operate from there.
And I guess what's interesting to me, and I don't know if the viewers or listeners also are catching, but what's interesting to me is that even as successful as you guys are in your careers, your professional careers, you're still buying real estate and investing, and that to me that says a lot. And we've had some people on it that have done real estate and investors and things of that nature. But it says a lot because you know you guys can probably where you are professionally, you probably be good and be okay, and probably better than okay. But yet and still, you still are finding ways to, I guess, whether it's to increase your portfolio or I don't know what to call it, but you guys are still doing it. And so with that, ultimately, what's your you guys' goal? I guess as a family or as a couple, what's your goal when it comes to you purchasing real estate and things of that nature?
So when we started out, we had a goal of 40 units over 5 years. That was in
15, 16.
yeah, something like that, 2015, 2016. We haven't met that goal. I think the goal changed. Like our life has changed. Our careers have taken us different places. But I would say as far as like that goal was attached to an amount of money, and we've achieved that amount of money. But yeah, it's just about building wealth and having the freedom if we want to make decisions. There's a saying by Steve Jobs: you can't connect the dots looking forward; you can only connect them looking backwards. And it's so true because, I mean, we didn't know we were going to be working at Zoom and Pinterest, or that there would be COVID and everybody would be working from home from the pandemic. We didn't know that. So in our mind, we wanted to get back to Newport News, but our careers were in California. And so a lot of what was driving us to invest in Hampton Roads was that we wanted to be there, and we didn't think we would be able to have jobs here. And so we were preparing for supplementing our income. Just, full stop. That's really what it was about, was putting money into the place where we want to be, investing there so that we have cash flow, so that we have options when we want to move back.
And so with that, how important would you guys say, outside of everything else that you may do, whatever your job is, your profession, whatever, how important would you guys say between investing, buying properties, how important do you think that really is?
Oh, I think it's critical. And so I would say at this point, we have gotten to a place where we're relatively comfortable, like lifestyle wise. And so it is really a matter of like thinking long term about the next generation and wanting them to have certain things. I think a lot about a quote by Warren Buffett where he's like, you want to give your kids enough that they can do anything, but not enough that they can do nothing. And I really take that to heart and want every door to be blown open for our future kids. And so in my mind, it ties to sort of net worth goals, and we've got them sort of decade by decade. And we really are intentional about tracking our net worth and making sure that we are adding to it year after year, so that when we look up in 10, 15, 20 years, we have, sort of accumulated enough that the people who are coming behind us don't necessarily have to worry about resources in the same way and can really focus on whatever it is that brings them joy. Right now, I mean, we are in a unique position of being able to work in tech from Hampton Roads and do a lot of the things that we really enjoy and love and be around our families. But it didn't have to work out this way. And a lot of people are constrained by location and by careers. And, to the extent we can remove those barriers for the next generation, we're very focused on doing that.
And and like I said, to me, the fact that you guys are in the place that you're in, the mindset that you guys have now, where did it come from? Did it come from parent? Did you see it with your parents? Was it coworkers? Was it mentor? Like, how did you get to the place where you guys are now?
So I honestly, I would credit. I think the biggest common denominator for us was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then a series of books after that. I mean, we kind of had some underpinnings of like wanting some financial flexibility, but not necessarily having like the vernacular and vocabulary to attach to it. Say, okay, I have these specific goals, and these are the things I should be working on a day-to-day basis. I feel like that book really gives a really great framework for like, oh, this is what people with money do with it to make more of it. And this is the difference between working for money and having your money work for you. And just little concepts that really helped to round out our financial education. And then from there was like a litany of real estate books and all sorts of things. But I feel like that's sort of the foundational text.
Because I think a lot of people, are interested in real estate. They hear a lot about real estate, but really don't know where to start. And then I think between not knowing where to start and then talking themselves out of it. Well, I don't have enough money. My credit isn't where it should be. Or once again, it's too expensive, or just not having the understanding or the knowledge of it. But I guess, nowadays, you can almost get information from anywhere. Like YouTube and the internet is, there's a lot of things that you can find online that can assist you with anything that you want to do, good or bad, to be honest with you. But for you guys to kind of get to that mindset, I think is amazing. And once again, we're talking about products of the Newport News school system. You guys aren't some, private school trust fund kids. I don't think.
Nope.
But self-made products of the Newport News school system, public school system, and I commend to both of you because you don't, I said this before, we don't hear these success stories that often, and I think the information that you guys have is very valuable, especially for this next generation of people, young people that are coming up. And so for me to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you guys, I appreciate it. I really do, because everybody's not going to sit down and just kind of put it all out there and talk about, especially to perfect strangers. I'm just being honest with you. We really met today, a couple about maybe 7:15. And so, but to be able to do that, and you guys being willing to do that, says a lot about you, and I appreciate you guys for doing it, and being willing to do so. Back to the skating rink. So when you saw that it was available or for sale, what was that conversation like? Who presented what to whom? And then how did it go?
I feel like maybe I saw it first.
Yeah, I think Ayana saw it first. I think we had been so we drove cross country when we moved back. And even on that drive, we would say stuff like, oh, it would be funny if the skating rink came for sale. So, we had kind of like been, I feel like, talking it into the air. And then one day Ayana checked and she was like, look at that. Like it is, there it is listed on LoopNet. And it had been there for a little while. We hadn't picked up on it.
Yeah, and to be fair, we bought another property before we even bought the skating rink, like during the pandemic. In my mind, it was like, there's a pandemic going on. There's probably some properties for sale. Like everything, I was treating everything like it was for sale, and so we were just hungry for like RC was saying, for deals. We're always looking for properties to buy, and yeah, that came up, and we're just like, all right, we got to put in our offer. There was no questions about it. We just knew we had to put together the package, and like that was it's funny because now like there was press about it, and we bought a lot of properties, and that's the first one that made the front page of the Daily Press.
Right.
And we think it's hilarious because we're like, we've been doing this, but it's that one thing that people like really attach to and people had a reaction to and feel emotionally connected to. And so that's been the thing that has really been special. But for us, it's like, that wasn't like, we're doing this all the time.
Yeah, we've otherwise been able to accumulate a little bit of property because we've got a pretty decent sized portfolio at this point, sort of under the radar, and then that was sort of the thing that was splashed everywhere.
And how did it make you feel? I mean, was it a thing to where you appreciated the information and the attention so that way kind of can give back to the community, or was it a thing to like, well, like you said, well, look, this is not our first property. Why?
No, I mean we love it. We love the how much the building and the memories that people have there mean to people. And we love hearing those stories and seeing pictures. Every now and then we'll run a social media promotion where we ask people for old pictures, and it's just great to see that this pillar of the community that we're lucky enough to be in a position to keep going. But yeah, it was like a little bit jarring because to us it was like another deal, like just sort of in the deal flow. But it definitely means a lot to a lot of people.
And we haven't talked about it yet, but this also wasn't our first foray into like customer service and like another business. So we're co-owners of Bonchon Norfolk, which is Korean fried chicken.
Wait, hold on. You're co-owners of Bonchon Chicken.
Yeah, in Norfolk. It's a franchise.
Yeah, I've been there, but yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so we're part owners of that, along with some friends of ours. And so that also got attention. And so we thought we had like experienced what it was like to run a business and, see what thing, like when something's popular and people love it, what that would be like. But the skating rink has been special in that context for us. Like it's a whole nother level.
So what made you guys, hey, what was the comment? So what I'm all for the skating rink right now. Hey, babe. Let's buy into some Korean fried chicken franchise.
So it was me, but okay. So you're sensing a theme. We go where the dollars are. We are interested in opportunities. This year we invested in a movie. Like we will do whatever. If someone comes to us and says, "Hey, I have this idea. I think this will be the returns." We'll do our due diligence and we'll go from there. We are in a good position to have a decent amount of W-2 income, and our whole goal all along was we're going to take these Silicon Valley dollars and we're going to invest them in our community. And we've been doing that since we started working, basically, and year by year just putting more and more money into Hampton Roads businesses and Hampton Roads real estate. And we're not done, but just it's sometimes it's good to sort of take a step and look at what you've done, and it's encouraging. But we are always in search of return more than anything.
And let me just say, it's not without discomfort. Like, I was frustrated when we invested in Bonchon, because that was at the time, that was in that 3-year period where we were also trying to get our first property. And so I was focused on the real estate, and RC comes with this, we're going to invest in a Bonchon. And I'm like, we're using the dollars that we're supposed to be putting towards real estate to something else. And so that was a hard conversation. But looking forward, it's like, okay, it's fine. I don't even think about that amount of money that we invested now. But at the time, it was huge.
So it was RC that came with the Hey Babe.
Yeah. For the yeah.
Okay. And I've always, and I think this is where we balance each other out well. I operate with an abundance mindset. Like I maybe to a fault, always think there's going to be more money. Yes. And so we will invest aggressively. We will, sort of move as if there's urgency. Like we move year by year into more and more properties and more businesses. And Ayana sometimes is like, let's cool it off for a few months and build up our reserves.
Let's perfect our systems.
Yeah. So it's a good balance of like, no, let's just keep expanding, getting more stuff. And Ayana's sometimes like, all right, let's do the stuff we're doing really well for the next 6 months and go from there.
And so, for those of you guys that are just tuning in, it's the Mind Your Business podcast. I'm JB Harrison. I have the Millers on with me this evening, and they are listen. At the end of the day, they're a power couple here in the Hampton Roads area. They are the recent owners of the Peninsula Family Skating Center, as well as we are hearing, they got their hands in a lot of stuff, and it's amazing to hear. And so, for you guys that are just tuning in, and if you have some questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll throw it up there, ask them some questions. We have we've been given the green light to do so, and I know you guys may have some questions because I have some as well. But so that way, feel free. I guess one of my questions, another one, when you see or you hear about something that is for sale. So, for instance, the skating rink, or even the franchise bonchon. Like, how did you know that the skating rink, and if that's the case, one, that it was a good investment, and then two, has it been a good investment?
You want to talk about that?
No, you go for it.
No, you go first. You go ahead.
I'm curious what you'll say.
Oh, interesting. So when a commercial deal was a little bit different. We needed to get commercial, well, we didn't need to, but like we went through the process of getting commercial financing, and that requires a business proposal. And so we had to do a little bit of quick, like back of the envelope financials to write out projections. And once you start in that process, you get a little bit of help. The business should give you historical financials. And then you can do your own projections based on things that you think will happen. So, like, are they investing in social media? Are there repairs that need to be made? And kind of level out the expenses and liabilities and profits, and kind of make estimates over time. So that's how you get to your kind of numbers. And we thought that it would do all right because we like skating. We knew our families enjoyed skating. We knew that the skating rink was a gem in the community that people love, but it needed some work. We also, again, saw the pandemic as like everything's on sale. That was my mindset. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The more we found out, the current owners are absentee. They live not in the area. There's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of things that we could do differently. Again, I'm all about systems. So what systems can we put in place to improve things? Like, can we do better marketing? Can we, improve this, improve that? And so those are where you start to see the opportunities for improving the margins. And then I'll let you talk about the actuals, like now, like, was it true?
Yeah, so I think, I would go in with the most sober analysis you can if you're looking at a set of numbers, and just assume worst case scenario. Like, really discount everything that you're seeing. And we did that in the financing process. And then, the skating rink has, I would say, exceeded our expectations. Wow. with regard to financial returns pretty consistently. Like, I don't want to say blown away, but
shocking.
It's a healthy business. And this was a transaction where, again, we were, I don't want to say mostly interested in the real estate, but the real estate was, like, if the real estate weren't there, we would not have been as interested as we were. It was definitely a core part of the deal. And so, relative to the purchase price, we basically bought the building and more or less got the business, sort of as an add-on. Right. And at this point, if we were to sell the business separately, based on the financials we've been doing, we would get significantly more than we paid for it. So I would say it's been a good deal.
One thing here I want to mention too is, because this is like my new thing that I try to talk to people about, and I've seen this pattern in our businesses and how we've been successful. So many, especially Black business owners, think that they have to go out, like, they think that being an entrepreneur means coming up with this idea, getting an LLC, building a brand, pushing out orders, do whatever it is, and that's how you. And then like getting somebody big to recognize it, and that's how you get to $1 million, quit your job, like lifestyle. Every business we've been in has been an existing business. Like that is how I would frame it. Like we have been most successful buying other people's businesses that are, I don't want to say failing, but where there were opportunities for us to improve. So for me, real estate is that. Like we bought a building that somebody else built it. There were already tenants in it. We come in and we improve the systems. We get out tenants that, maybe aren't paying rent. We make improvements to the building, and then we see more return. Same with the franchise. We didn't come up with the franchise idea.
Right.
We bought into a successful franchise and built on that success. Same thing with the skating rink. Like I don't think we would be as successful if we went out trying to buy a building and make it into a skating rink and build a brand from the ground up. It's because people have already had so many memories. There were systems in place. We just went in and improved the systems. Neither one of us are skating rink experts, like business experts, but we know enough about systems and business generally and how things should run that we could make improvements.
And there was an opportunity on the front end that we sort of identified where it's like, just little things like, so I get really excited about social media. I don't want to say it's the end all be all or anything, but for instance, their social media presence before we bought it, it was a Facebook page. They had 3,000 likes or so. They would post with COVID, they started selling tickets. They would post a picture that said sold out, like in text. And then that was it. That was like their social media presence. They would get a couple likes, yada, yada, woo, woo. I don't know I think you've seen our social media at this point. At this point, we're getting close to 8,000 likes on Facebook. We have over 7,000 likes on Instagram, which we built from scratch, 9 months ago. And then we have 46,000 followers on TikTok. So, we've got a pretty sizable audience that we've built in basically 9 months from some legacy excitement of, this is a brand I know, but also finding new ways to record content and engage the audience and really thinking about what people want to see. Like people like skating content. And I think there was, it was definitely an underutilized aspect. And now we are very clearly able to press on certain levers and make the audience come out. And so it's just been great to see how much of an impact something like social media can have on an existing legacy business. Right. And I feel like that's definitely something that a lot of people could be in a position to repeat.
So as business owners, investors, and people of color, how hard or easy has it been for you guys? I mean, at this point, you're successful, but how hard was it? And is that even a factor? Was that even a factor when it comes to you?
So I will say that I can't say for certain that it's a factor, and I won't name any particular names of financial institutions, but I will say, you've seen some of our financials. Like our balance sheet is strong.
Yes, it is.
We have experience that we've talked about in all of these spaces. We have experience in real estate. I don't want to toot my own horn or, sort of give us too much credit, but like we're relatively savvy. We're going to be able to figure stuff out. And we have faced challenges when dealing with certain financial institutions in ways that I don't know what else it could be animated by. I'm not one to ascribe everything to race, but, at the end of the day, I can't help but sometimes feel as if our path would be a little bit easier if certain factors were different. And, it is what it is. We deal with what we have to. And if there's a river in our way, we'll make a bridge. We haven't let any of it stop us. One of the specific instances I'm thinking about was with regard to the skating rink. We were still able to make it happen. And so, I would say, if that is your hang up or your something that you feel like is going to hold you back, definitely. I would even encourage you, just reach out to us, and we're happy to sit down and talk to you about the actual nuts and bolts of how to get around some of those things. But it's definitely still 100% a factor. And, I'm like, y'all are giving money to people who are much dumber, honestly, and have much worse plans. But,
do you?
But yeah, do whatever you do whatever you feel like you need to do to make your bank successful. I felt when we opened I I feel like it still may be coming. When we get to a full year of financials, we may send that that package of financials to that particular
Ooh,
financial institution. Just as a how you doing, just checking in.
Yeah, we're
as a
petty.
wait,
We're
wait,
Yeah,
wait.
petty
I
like
was about to say, as a how you doing, and just checking in, huh? Yeah,
that.
that's a big. It's petty, but it's a big petty move. Like that's a big move.
well, and it's not. So to me,
Informative.
it's to me it's I don't know what the impact would be. Maybe it's, hey, next time there's people in front of you who you should be having more faith in, maybe don't let certain factors get in your way of
Right,
believing
right,
in them.
right.
So if we can push the door open a little bit wider based on an email, happy to do it. Yeah.
Well, you made a statement I thought that was really really big, and if there's a river, make a bridge. You know, don't let it stop you. And I think for a lot of people, that has been the thing that stopped them or deterred them. And I don't want to say it's an excuse, but I guess at the end of the day, if that's the thing that stops you from moving forward and being successful, ultimately you're the only one that's going to pay for it. Like that's you're the one that's losing out. And so as you said, you've got to find some other, either you find other resources. The fact that you even said, hey, reach out to us. Like I said, man, that I mean, it means a lot. It really means a lot that you guys are even willing to have conversations with people that sometimes others don't want to have. Whether it's competition, they feel like it's competition, or whatever the case. But the fact that you guys are willing to do that says a lot. What was it like going from going into the skating rink before to skate, and then walking in there as the owners?
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean it's night and day. It's a pretty dramatically different experience now. Like I don't even almost don't even remember what it was like to be in there as a customer, because now I just see opportunities or
Mm-hmm.
things we need to get better at, or you know safety issues. Like everything to me now is a problem to solve, which is, and it's fun. I enjoy being there. I enjoy seeing what issues come up and how we can solve them. But yeah, it's night and day different.
It's hilarious because our family's in on it too. Like our family supports us a lot with the business, and something we always say is, I never noticed this when we just came here. Like all these years we've been coming here, and I never noticed XYZ. We say that all the time.
Yeah, we're still finding little corners of the building that we didn't know existed, or things we didn't know how it worked, but now we do, and yeah, it's crazy.
For someone that is thinking about getting into investing, getting into real estate, what would be one of the first pieces of advice that you'd give them?
So you said something a second ago that I wanted to come back to for just a minute. Sort of that sometimes people won't give out information because they feel like it's a competitive landscape, and I couldn't be farther from that mindset. And we, like I said earlier, I operate with an abundance mindset. There's enough money out here for all of us, and especially us. We should be helping each other get more of it. Ayana and I every other month host in our home young local Hampton Roads business owners, just getting together and sharing information and really trying to make sure that this brick and mortar business down the street, and they know you, and you guys can potentially partner. And so we are really intentional about making sure that we do that. And so I would say, to your point about what should you do if you're interested in investing in real estate or becoming entrepreneurial, get around people who are doing it, and really get in rooms where you don't have the biggest vision. Even like it always, we go to a conference every year where it's really, really accomplished Black people, and it's just a wonderful weekend of just sort of luxuriating in everybody's visions for their futures. And I would say the more you can be in rooms where it's going to expand your vision and expand what you want for your future, I think that's a powerful place to be in, particularly around people who have been down the road that you specifically want to go down.
Well, all I'm going to say is this: I just need the address for that room. So just so we'll talk about that later. But I listen. I commend you guys. Like you guys are you're really doing it. What is it like? And this happens a lot to where you have a couple and one may be here, the other may be here when it comes to business and entrepreneurship and you know, I want to do this and I think we should do this and I so if they're not on the same wavelength, how do you is there a way that you can get past that? Is there a way that you can get through that? Because I'm sure you guys don't always agree on everything. But what is that conversation like in order to move past it and still be able to be successful and there's no hard feelings afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to talk about the high level goals. You have to be aligned. You were asking the right questions at the beginning, like what are we doing this for? Why? And we're always aligned there. We know we want to leave a legacy. We know we wanted to get back to Hampton Roads specifically. And so that is our motivation. No matter what happens and what it looks like, how it's played out, that kind of combines us and we're on the same page about that all the time, 100%. So then all the other stuff is just kind of details, figuring out the details. You know, we're looking at a property, either the numbers make sense or they don't. Like, and as you get better at that, there's less disagreement. Like we take the emotion out of buying properties or thinking about our businesses. It obviously gets emotional. Like there's emotional connection to the skating rink. And so we have to separate it. We have to separate it and think about the business, and think about the numbers. And so that's what I would encourage any couple to do is like, if you figure out what you agree on at a fundamental level, what is a goal that you all can both agree to, then write out a list of ways that you can accomplish that and just start trying it out and seeing, and then let the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, I would say, you know, to the extent it's a net worth goal or an income goal, really track these things. I feel like a lot of times people have these vague goals of, you know, financial freedom or, you know, these sort of buzzwords that are great as concepts, but really put brass tacks down and make sure that you're looking at the same thing. You know, you can't hit a target that you haven't decided on. And so and then once you decide on it, it's like anything else. If you've got a fitness goal, you're not going to get it by, you know, just going out running until you're tired and coming in. Like you've got to, if you want to run a marathon, you need to hit marks along the way every day. And it's the same way with finances. It's the same way with sort of building a vision for your future. You've got checkpoints that you should be putting in along the way, and just make sure that you're hitting those checkpoints year by year and you still sort of agree on the ultimate goal. I think that is, as long as you are looking in the same direction, you can usually get on the same page about whether something fits into getting you to that end goal.
Okay, so I'm about to get, you know, I think I've kind of got in y'all's business a little bit. Right now, how many properties do you guys own? What is?
So we have 24 apartment units. We have two commercial units, and then we have the skating rink.
And that was over what
And then
amount?
we have our house. We live in a house. That was over, you know, we're coming up on 5 years.
And so, out of all of the ones that you had or have, which one do you think is the most successful?
I think it's going to ultimately end up being the skating rink because it is just a uniquely profitable business. But we actually have one that we kind of got lucky on. It was actually our first property that has basically doubled in value. So we haven't talked about this, but our specific investment philosophy is to invest for cash flow. So after we've paid the mortgage, accounted for all of our expenses and vacancies, we want a certain number of, sort of rent to be left after we've done all those things. And so we don't really care whether it appreciates or,
We're not selling it.
Right. We're not selling. Like, our kids are going to get all this stuff. Like, we're just going to keep buying and putting it in the portfolio. So whatever happens to the value, it doesn't really matter to us. At the end of the day, like, it's putting a check in our pocket every month. That's what we're concerned with. But if you get appreciation, even as it continues to pay you, that is definitely a nice thing to have. And we have a property in Hampton near Mellon Street, which is like just sort of an up and coming area and has been revitalized with restaurants and breweries, and people are really excited about like that Phoebus. That Phoebus area. And that property has doubled in value. So it's a good place to be. Like, at the end of the day, that is more, that is, we talk about adding to your net worth. Like, that is whatever the appreciation you get is just added right to the bottom line. And so it's great. So ultimately, I mean, something like if you can sort of have these double and triple returns over your lifetime, like that's obviously gonna add to your net worth quite a bit.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if you guys do it or not. If you haven't thought about it, thinking about it, you guys need to teach a class. You need to teach a class, a course, master class, something. One, for people that are interested in, whether it's real estate, whatever, but even for financial literacy, because ultimately people want to learn and they want to know what it is that they need to do, not only to be successful for themselves, but also to leave a legacy for their children, their children's children, and not just leaving bills and debt and things of that nature. And so you guys definitely somehow need to do a course, a class, whatever. And I'm sure that you guys don't have a whole lot of time. I mean, I'm sure your hands are probably, I got a lot going on. But I mean, we got to figure out how we're going to do a part two, because we got to do a part two. We got to have you guys come back. And it'll probably be after you done bought about 20, 34 more properties. The rate you guys are going, that might be the next couple weeks or so. But we definitely need to have you guys come back. And so what we normally do before we close down and we end the show is I ask, what is your highest high and your lowest low? And it can be in any order. But when it comes to the whole entrepreneurship and this journey that you guys are on, and you may have different ones. Ayana, yours may be one. RC's yours may be another. But give me your highest high and your lowest low. And you may have to think about it for a minute.
I thought you had an answer, but based on your reaction.
Somebody asks you a question like that, you start thinking about all the stuff.
Yes, right.
Like,
Yep.
highest high. Highest high for me was probably at the skating rink the day we got the keys, going in there, and like it was just, so to your point, like, it wasn't easy. We weren't first in line. When we put in the offer, they didn't want our offer because we weren't bringing all cash to the table. Like, there were more attractive offers. Those didn't work out. And so, we had an attractive offer, but it just wasn't first. So there was a lot of stuff that we had to do to get to closing. And like RC was saying, a lot of obstacles. And so getting those keys, it just felt like it was never going to happen at some point. And so getting those keys and going in there and knowing that we were the owners, like that was pretty high. That was a high moment. And then the Daily Press, like being in the Daily Press on the front page was really high.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's something. I think the highs and lows are probably all centered around the skating rink. The rest of the portfolio is pretty steady as she goes. You know, it's
low. I have a low. Because I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real.
Please do.
Maybe somewhere.
So, and I mean, it's funny because now I don't think about it. It's not the same. But when we first opened Bunch on, we needed to pay our employees. We had to make payroll, and our partners asked us for $10,000.
Oh wow.
Cash
Wow.
to pay our employees. I had to go take that money out of my personal account. And I remember us going out of the bank with like dollars, like $10,000, and being freaked out that like I had all this money, on me. And that was a lot of money for us at the time. And there was no guarantee that we were going to get it back. And then the way the business was set up, RC told me, oh, they're going to give it back to us over time. And so we ended up not getting it. I literally went to the bank, took out cash, gave it to them all in one day. And it took years for us to get that all back. And that was like, again, I'm thinking properties, but that was an investment at that time. And so it made sense. But that was a low. That was definitely a low.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely
a low. Some of these businesses, they come with like these pinch points or like, like and that's part of why the skating rink has sort of blown me away month by month, is because it hasn't come with these pinch points of like making ends meet kind of things.
I think we're also just in a different place financially.
No, I mean, but the skating rink, it is generating returns such that whatever comes up, the skating rink is able to pay for those things.
Itself. Okay, got it.
But these businesses, my point, these businesses take a lot of money up front.
Right.
Like who knew we were gonna need $10,000 of our own dollars to pay the employees to make it through that first week. Like that's something nobody tells you.
And then you juxtapose that with the skating rink, which required a lot of money.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But we were prepared, and like we knew, okay, it needs a new roof.
Got it.
And then we did our diligence, and we're like, if you're thinking about buying a building, especially if it's old, the skating rink is. I mean, we've seen stamps on pipes in the building that are from the 40s, so it's a very old building. Wow. So it needed a new roof. That was $120,000. The parking lot needed to be repaved. That was $50,000. It needed new bathrooms. Those were $30,000.
And we're not doing GoFundMes. Like this is us.
Yeah, because I'm about to say I didn't see any type of fundraisers online for any of that.
No, and so definitely make sure that you. And so I think we talked a little bit about Plaza, one of the other skating rinks in Hampton Roads.
Yeah.
And I think there were various people who've tried to buy it over the years and maybe had it and weren't able to sort of give it what it needed, because these buildings the skating rink is 20,000 square feet. When you put a new roof on it, it's a huge roof, and so it takes a lot of money. And so definitely, if you're thinking about buying an existing business, that's definitely one of the things to check off and make sure that you're prepared and have the partners or financial wherewithal to make sure that you can get it into the state that it needs to be.
Well, look, we're going to find a way to do a part 2. I mean, I've got to get you guys back on here because I still have a million other questions, and I'm sure that the viewers they got questions too, and they probably, but whatever. So we'll figure this out. I know you guys have a very busy schedule, but somehow we'll figure it out. But I do want to say thank you guys for coming on and just being as honest as you guys have been. And I appreciate all that you guys are doing for the community. I appreciate you for taking the time, because, time is probably one of the most valuable things that we have. And it's the one thing you can't get back. And when it comes to entrepreneurs, you guys could be sitting there looking at other properties that you're thinking about getting right now, and I'm holding you up from that. So I really do appreciate you guys. And we have to figure this out. We've got to do something. Get you guys back. Something. We'll figure it out. But I really appreciate you guys and all that you're doing, and the fact that you guys are products of Newport News public school system.
Yep.
You guys need to have. There should be a plaque. There should be something should be in there with your names on it. Outside of, they need to rename the auditorium. Something.
That's a whole nother conversation. We try to get in there.
I'm like, give us a call. Just like at this point, like, career day. I don't know. Just find us.
Call us something.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother. I'm not gonna put them on blast, but
it's too late. No, they're on blast. And listen, and understand the numbers that the Newport News public school system have when it comes to the success and the failure rate of their students. At this point, they need to be looking into whatever they can to make sure that these kids are successful. And the fact, and I'm just going to say this, if you guys have called them and they haven't set up something for you guys to come in and have a conversation and career day with these kids, then I'm going to say it. The school system is doing their kids an injustice. Because, if they have anybody else coming there besides you guys, then there's a problem. And I'm okay. So anyway, we'll figure that out. We'll figure that part out as well. Now you said you didn't see a GoFundMe, but you may find a petition or something that might get started to get you guys, because you guys need to be in probably almost every daggone school here in the Hampton Roads area, having conversations like this and being there for career days and things of that nature.
And we would be there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, beyond the, thinking about the next generation and our sort of core family, our big priority is bending up the trajectories of Black folks. Like, that is, we do the business mixer bi-monthly. We have people we mentor. Like, I just want to see Black people get money, and whatever I can do to help facilitate that, our doors are always open. Our calendars are.
They're busy, but we make room.
We make room to help folks, trying to figure it out and really, trying to figure out what they want to do. We love to see Black people succeed, and whatever we can do to help on that front. And so it breaks my heart when you talk about Newport News public school systems potentially having some gaps when it comes to kids. None of those gaps are bigger than the ones that are for our kids. Like,
yes.
We've got the biggest gaps to fall through.
Yes.
And so, it definitely is not encouraging, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to make an impact at some point.
I know this. I know a couple of people that are in the school system. And the first thing tomorrow morning, I will make a couple of phone calls. Because you guys need to be there. Hands down. You need to be there. You guys need to be there before some of these other people are there. And I'm just, I'll be honest with you. So, but anyway, that's something that I'll work on personally. I've got a couple of, so we'll figure that piece out. But yeah, listen, I appreciate you guys, and you made a statement. You want to see Black people get money. Well, let me tell you right now, I am so glad that I'm Black. But I appreciate you guys, and we will figure this out. And once again, it's the Mind Your Business podcast. This was the Millers, you guys. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. And we'll do this again.
Thank you for having us.
Indeed. Thank you.